Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. This is pretty crazy. We've never done anything like this, but I have right here, first off, my microphone. I have 5 NFC contenders for this upcoming year. Now, some of these are pretty obvious. There's one or two of these that aren't so obvious, and one of them I'm not ideal to even say out loud. I haven't covered this team in a couple of months here. But I want to start it off with the Detroit Lions because it's July 10th and I'm currently injured. I got a foot injury, so I've been on bed rest for like a week and a half. I'm going crazy, losing my mind, and I want to develop more of a brand on YouTube, and this seems like what people do. So we're going to try one here. Now, my favorite, and this isn't going to be in particular order, my favorite team as far as contenders go in the entire NFC is the Detroit Lions. I absolutely love the Detroit Lions, and as you guys know, ignore all my Chicago sports propaganda, I'm a diehard Green Bay Packers fan. But I've had a lot of family, on my dad's side, like pretty much everybody from my dad's side is from Detroit, Michigan. So I've always had an affiliation or a fondness towards Detroit sports. And I hear all this BS rhetoric all offseason about why Detroit's going to fall off because they lost both of their coordinators. And it's so funny because people like always use the Philadelphia Eagles from before they won the Super Bowl. You know, when they lost to Kansas City a few years ago, and they're like, well, they lost guys like Shane Steichen and they lost their coordinators, and then the next season they weren't as good, and that's going to happen to Detroit. But what people always forget is that's just one example. There's countless examples of coordinators coming in both offensively, defensively, or both, coming into a new team and improving them. And like, I live in the Tampa Bay area right now. Like I said, I'm a Packers fan, but I do cover the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I've always watched the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield's had a new offense coordinator for consecutive, like this is his 3rd straight year. I guarantee you he doesn't necessarily lose a step. He's coming off technically the best year of his career, so maybe there's slight statistical regression, but like coordinators can also improve you. So I look at this team, which, by the way, the Detroit Lions were the #1 scoring offense in the NFL last season, and it's like, I don't know why I would be concerned. And if you guys been watching this channel, and I'm sorry if this ruffles some feathers, but like, you go back and watch the Ben Johnson play calling against the Washington Commanders, and it's like, what are you doing? What were you doing? And even if you don't want to go back and watch that game, the Jameson Williams throw. Like, he hadn't attempted that at any point in the regular season. He's not a known thrower. Like, why would you attempt that in a playoff game when you've never attempted it before? And I'm not trying to go at Ben Johnson or the Chicago Bears. I'm just trying to say he got way too cute there. The new addition to Tate Ratledge, I think, is huge. I think Christian Mahogany's an absolute baller. I think Isaac Tesla is a hidden gem. I don't think it's going to be a crazy rookie impact statistically, but I do think it's going to be a big impact player. And like, real quick on the defense, the simple addition of a healthy Aiden Hutchinson elevates their entire defensive line. This is a team that's been top 5 in defensive rushing for like 3 consecutive seasons. They still were a top 10 defense last year, despite being the 3rd worst passing defense in the entire NFL. So I don't have concerns. Folks, when I first started covering the NFL and the Detroit Lions, and sorry, Lions fans, like I said, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers here. A lot of my Lions fans wanted Aaron Glenn gone. Because when I first started covering this team, it was like 2022, and they had just finally started winning, and the first half of the season was not many wins. Now, number 2, before we get back into this video here, I want to thank and shout out our sponsor, Mando. I love Mando, I truly do. I've got a funny kind of story here. I've got this Mando new flavor, or scent, I should say, bourbon leather, and my buddy, we had a golf kind of thing here in Florida. We were hitting Caba Citrus Farms, and he drove up to stay the night, and he saw my Mando stash, and he was like, oh, I use Mando too. And so I told him, use code Upton, and he was like, I don't know, you only get it here and there, the shipping, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Code Upton's got free shipping. So here's just another refresher. The only thing I haven't ran out of is this whole body deodorant stuff, which is really perfect for like your feet. I'm a big golfer, as you can tell from that story, and it's huge after that. But their starter pack, I've got it right here because they gave it to me, but I ran out. Solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash or deodorant wipes, and you get free shipping. So this is 20% off site-wide and free shipping with code Upton. I'll throw the link in the bio and pin in the comments, but let's get back to this video. As the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm not going to have too many comments on this, but obviously they just won the Super Bowl. Their offense and defense is littered with studs. They probably are the favorite. They should be the favorite. A.J. Brown, Vontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley. Now they got my boy A.J. Dillon, Jalen Hurts, a phenomenal defense that's young and matured. I don't have too many comments on Philly. I haven't made too many videos on Philly. And, they're kind of like the Chiefs of the West, in my opinion, at this point, especially with the addition of Saquon Barkley. But as we know, it's very difficult to replicate success. It's difficult to make a Super Bowl. It's difficult to win a Super Bowl. And it's going to be even harder to win another Super Bowl. So I don't have, like I said, too many comments about the Philadelphia Eagles because I think they are just the favorites. They're the Super Bowl defending champions, and it all just kind of goes without saying. So without further ado, we get to my favorite team in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers. Like I said, this is in no particular list. The Packers are weird. This is the team I've always liked. I was born and raised in Chicago, and I've always been a Green Bay Packers fan, starting with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and now Mr. Jordan Love. And I look at this team and I look at the additions of guys like Savion Williams, Matthew Golden, Aaron Banks. Defensively, I liked Nate Hobbs. We did just recently get rid of Jair Alexander, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I will say this because it equates to a lot of the teams on this list. I think secondaries are kind of overrated. At this stage in the NFL, you don't need 2 lockdown corners as long as you have like an above average defensive back in the cornerback position, and then one of the safeties is above average. I really think this is a positional group where you can find value as far as contracts go. So I know we lost Jair Alexander, and that was very upsetting, but at the end of the day, Green Bay should be a top 10 offense. They should be a top 10 defense. And if Jordan Love doesn't get injured in Brazil like he did in week 1 of last year, well, then anything can happen. And then he, had a lower body injury in the halfway point, which really set them back. And you could say this about pretty much all the 5 teams I'm going to mention in this video, but it's like, if Green Bay can truly stay healthy, then I really think, the sky's the limit. Unfortunately, they had a slightly unorganized, inconsistent, 11-win season last year, and they got unlucky taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in the first game of the playoffs. So if it was 2 years ago and they had, taken on a Dallas or, beat a Tampa Bay like last year or whatever, then I think the rhetoric around this team would be a little bit different. But it is what it is. Injuries suck. I'm not using that to blame why Green Bay was, not a playoff win team last season, but I am just saying if we can stay healthy, I think the sky's the limit. And then our 4th team we're going to do, and like I said, this is slightly biased because I've lived in Florida for a few years now. I'm going with Tampa. We did just learn in the last 24 hours that their star, literally one of the best left tackles in the NFL, he was the number 1 rated left tackle in pass protection last year, Tristan Wirfs. We just heard that he might miss, or it actually might be that he is missing the first 4 games of the regular season. That is unfortunate, but I've covered Tampa on a channel called Let's Talk Bucks, Let's Talk Buccaneers. I think it's Let's Talk Buccaneers for a few years now. It was pretty much right when Tom Brady got there. Even when TB12 was in Tampa Bay, they were one of or the worst rushing team in the NFL for like 3 straight seasons. And so last year they go out there and they pick up Bucky Irving. They still have Rashad White. They also had Sean Tucker as their third running back in the room who had a great rookie season. And their offense was top 5. They had a top 5 offense in scoring. They had a top 5 rushing offense. And the biggest issue Tampa had last season was defense. But it was really mainly health. And it was really mainly health in the secondary. Tampa was just very unlucky in that department last season. And if Antoine Winfield Jr. can stay healthy for this upcoming season, that should be solved just like that. They've also got some guys like Jamel Dean, Tyke Smith coming off a great rookie season, Zion McCollum. There's players people probably don't know or appreciate yet, like Kalijah Kancey. Know yet Servassier Dennis, who also got injured around halfway last season. So that's one of those teams where I think defensively, if they can get closer to top 10 and their offense doesn't miss too many beats without Liam Cohen as their offensive coordinator, well, Tampa should, on paper, be an 11-plus win team this upcoming season. And then finally, this is the team I mentioned in the beginning of the video where it was like, I'm throwing this in almost as homage, almost as respect, and it's the Los Angeles Rams. And we could look at some of their offseason acquisitions, primarily Devontae Adams. But when I think of the Rams, it kind of reminds me of Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, like 5 years ago, where I feel more so that Matt Stafford wins a Super Bowl in this current situation than not. And just for that reason, and also for the reason that they had a very good opportunity to take down Philadelphia in the playoffs last year, I think you just have to do it. It was a little surprising to me when I was prepping for this video that they were like a below average defense in points per game, rush defense, passing yards allowed. But it was a very young defense, and they've also got a bunch of studs on that defensive line. And like I said, I think with the secondary, you can get a little bit safer. So just because they got Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, Sean McVay, and that young, hungry defense, I had to throw in the Los Angeles Rams. So, folks, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button, hit that sub button if you did. Let me know if you like content like this. I love doing it, so let me know if you do, and give me your favorite and a sleeper for the NFC division or conference next season. Peace.